promise I won't forget.
You look really good.
You have to send out a text.
Happy birthday, dear Bobby. Happy birthday.
Let's go. Huh. How about that?
I think so.
Oh, yeah.
If you note, Bob's been a member of the club for 20 years.
Wow.
So he's touched a lot of lives in this club over that period of time. And there are 3 captains that deal with him on a weekly basis, and they all have a little bit of something to say about him. So if you'd be so kind to have the seat of honor here, and I'll ask for Mr. Westridge to talk first.
I think everybody in here knows that Bob is an unbelievable person. When you think that he plays golf 3 days a week, that we know about, that he, I don't know if you still play tennis as much as you did, but you sure played, 3 times a week before, and then also the fitness. So he's got good genes. Here he is in August, going to be 90 years old, but nobody will be here in August, so that's why Mike decided it'd be good to do it right now. But one thing that I think most of you don't know is when Bob goes to seafood night, that's where you get all you can eat. Do you know about these little tiny crabs, stone crabs they're called? Well, he won't go unless they're stone crabs. And everybody complains it's $89 for seafood dinner. That's a lot of money. Bob, in 30 minutes, he figures, can eat his way through stone crabs that are far more than $89. Not to mention the escargot, the lobster, the clams, the shrimp, and you can go on and on. Isn't that about right? And what he doesn't eat, Joyce eats the rest. But I have to say one other thing. Everybody always says he must have great genes. I mean, to reach well, he's not quite 90, but he's getting there. But I have to say that the real reason that Bob keeps flourishing is he has Joyce to come home to.
Joe Coppola is the dean of group leaders here.
That means I'm old. I think everybody knows. I'm going to talk so you can all hear me. Can you all hear me?
Yeah,
You know, Bill's talking about his body, about Bob Bloch's body, and that's what I want to talk about tonight too, because the guy has an amazing body. He really does. You know, if you feel him, you know, he's hard as a rock, and he's also strong as an ox. He really is for a little guy like that. And the thing that Bill mentioned is he played golf for almost 20 years. He played golf Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, and he played tennis Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Now think about that. For 20 years, I mean, that takes a lot out of you, but his body withstood it. And the other thing that you can say is a real attribute that he has as far as his body goes is his eyes, his eyesight.
Yeah.
You know, I have trouble seeing the ball once it leaves the tee. This guy sees it all the way down to the end, and he says, it's over there, the third tree on the left behind the tree. He says. You know, he can really see the ball. He's got good eyesight, and one of the things you may or may not know is that he had his own airplane for a long time. Yeah. So when you fly an airplane, you got to see good, too, I hope. Anyway, one of the things that really puts the icing on the cake as far as his amazing body is Bob Bloch has eyes behind his head. I kid you not. You know, one day, we're sitting down opposite each other, talking. It was a serious conversation, and we were both looking directly at each other, and then all of a sudden he was talking, and in the middle of his sentence, he stops talking, he starts to smile, and he says, wow, she's pretty good looking, isn't she? What the heck are you talking about? He says, what are you, blind? Look behind you. And I look up there, and sure enough, there's a really good-looking lady.
Must have been Joyce.
You know, I don't think anything of it. About 10 minutes later, I'm talking, and he interrupts me, and he says, holy mackerel, look at that one there. I look, and there's a very attractive lady back there. Well, I said, Bob, how are you able to see those ladies behind you? I said, I've been looking at you. I know you haven't turned your head or anything. How do you do it? Well, he says, I just do it. So I got up, and I went behind him, and I looked at the back of his head. You know, I looked carefully. Then I touched his head, and I started to feel his head and tried to see if there's any bulges there for eyes. There's no bulges. And once I touched him, he says, hey, he says, take your hands off me. He says, I thought when I first met you, there's something strange about you. And he said, besides, you're not my type. And I said, thank God. Anyway, one of the things that I said to him is, you know, have you ever been to an ophthalmologist? He says, a what? I said, an eye doctor. He says, no. He says, I wouldn't go to want to see them one of them night. And so I said, well, he said, but he'd think I was crazy. Well, you know, that would be his opinion. But anyway, I said, I've got an idea. I said, you know, we got a guy in the ranks who plays golf with us. He's a retired physician, Sal Gingaro. I said, he's an ears, nose, and throat guy. I said, your eyes are here, your ears are here, your nose is here, your throat's here. It's close. Maybe he's got some information. I said, you know, he said, well, I don't know if I ought to do it. I said, take a shot at it. He may have some information. He might have minored in eyesight or something. He said, okay, I'll talk to him. So a week goes by, and I said to him, I said, did you talk to Sal? He said, yeah. I said, well, what did he say? He said, did Joe Capola put you up to this? What did you say? He said, well, we just talked. He says, I got news for you. He says, I got advice for both of you. See a psychiatrist. Now, I really believe that he does have eyes behind his head. And I think he's a marvel because of it. So I went in a dictionary and I looked up the definition of marvel. Because that's what I think the guy is. And let me read it to you. First say. It says, something that evokes surprise. Well, you know, eyes behind your head, that's a surprise. Admiration. You know, Bill talked about his body, I'm talking about it. Hard as a rock, strong as an ox. I mean, something there to be admired. And then finally it says, or wonder. And I said, you know, body, strong, everything like that, you know, and he played golf 3 days a week and tennis 3 days a week for 20 years. I mean, that takes a lot out of him. He was able to withstand it. So the wonder is the body that he has. So all I have to say is that I think he's a marvel. And Bob, I want to wish you a happy 90th. And hopefully we'll have 100 to celebrate later on.
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh!
How do you follow that?
Yeah.
Does that explain why Joe is my idol? I'm in my first year of apprenticeship of being a group leader. Hopefully I get to advance to be a full-fledged group leader next year. I do again appreciate everybody coming. We've got a couple other things. Bob, did we surprise you?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, here's one more surprise. Here's a bill for the dinners.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you.
Tony, you want to come up and present the gifts to Bob?
By the way, Bob, my brother is not coming. He didn't want to know anything at all about the Alamo. This was a scam. And for us to pull this off and everybody keep quiet for 2 months that it took to put this thing together is remarkable. So again, welcome everyone. Bob, we have some gifts for you, but you know, I never realized how old you were. I mean, you define old age. I mean, they call you the Golden
This is supposed to
Dome.
be a eulogy.
They call you the Golden Dome of Quail Creek, and for good reason. But just to give you an idea how old this man is, okay? When he was born, they were building and completed the Holland Tunnel. Charles Lindbergh flew across the Atlantic Ocean, and Mount Rushmore was completed. Babe Ruth was on his way to 60 home runs, and this specimen entered our lives. I have some things back here for you, Bob. Everybody put things together for you. Hopefully you're not going to get tired carrying this around, because it doesn't fit on any golf cart. Okay. And here's a remembrance. Everybody signed it for you. And we have some golf balls here, optic yellow, which you love. And don't not used. They are. Every one of these we found in the lake. They're all yours. They say Bob on them. So again, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Okay, you take care.
Thank all of you for coming. I'm having a hard time living up to my New Year's resolution to be a lot less tolerant.
You have anything, Bob? You have anything else you'd like to say? That's it. You want to say anything else?
Thank you all for coming. Totally unexpected, and you done kept a good secret.
Thanks for having us.
Brother.
And that concludes it. It's time to eat.
They don't blow out.
Wow. I was gonna say with that, wait till you see what's next, I thought. There's a blonde that's gonna jump out of something.
We had one volunteer for that.
Did someone drink it all?
It's all yours.